guys, welcome back to my channel. Who doesn't like pasta? And one of the biggest mistakes when it comes to pasta making is choosing the wrong flour. You want your pasta to be soft, light and fluffy, not hard and heavy. So choosing the right flour is key to getting a real soft, light and yummy pasta. So I've got here one of the two most common flours used to pasta making. I've got semolina and white flour. Let's talk a little bit about each one of them and why you should or you shouldn't use these flours for pasta making. So let's start with semolina. So semolina is a wheat flour, and this is the preferred flour when it comes to pasta making in the south of Italy. In my opinion, it's the best flour to use for pasta making because it really gives that fluffy, light and soft texture that you want in your pasta. In the south of Italy, pasta is made with semolina, just added a little bit of water and a pinch of salt, and some people may or may not add an egg, but it's not really necessary. Now, when choosing semolina flour, what you really need to look for is a super fine texture. Go for a brand that has a super fine milled flour. And basically this is because if you don't have a super milled flour, the dough will not come out soft and silky and shiny. So you really want to look for a super fine milled flour, and then you don't need to add an egg. Personally, I think the brands that have a really super fine mill when it comes to semolina are Italian brands. In my experience, I've bought other brands that are not Italian, and although they say fine, it's still very coarse. And when you have a coarse flour, you're not going to get that texture that you want in the dough. It kind of doesn't seem to come together, coagulate. I don't know if that's a word when it comes to flour, but it doesn't seem to come together like if you have a super fine flour. You still can taste and feel that little tiny grains of the flour if it's not super fine. So in my experience, the ones that have really a super fine flour are Italian brands, so try to look for that. And then we come to the white flour. Now, and this is the reason I made this video. I was watching this Saturday a show called Saturday Kitchen, and if you're watching from outside the UK, this is a cooking show that's aired every Saturday, and every time they have different chefs and they cook their different dishes and da. This Saturday there was one of the guest chefs cooked a cacio and pepe pasta with fresh pasta, and he made the pasta there and all this sort of thing. And during the show there was a person, I don't know who, asked the chef, so what flour should we use for pasta making? And he answers, strong bread flour. And yes, strong bread flour. And so whilst I was recouping from choking on my cornflakes, I thought, no, I need to make a video and explain why you should never use strong bread flour to make pasta. So here we have white flour. Now, as you may know, there are different types of white flour. You get all-purpose flour, strong bread flour, and super strong bread flour. So what's the difference between these three white flours that are, again, they're wheat flours, they're processed, they're, we all know that. So what's the difference between all of these three flours? It's basically the gluten content. Gluten is what makes doughs elastic and that you can stretch and then make several things with that. So the super strong bread flour and the strong bread flour have a high content of gluten, and it's fine because, like the name says, is strong bread flour, because when you're making bread you need that elasticity, you need that stretch for the bread to come soft and spongy and improves, and it, you know, all that jazz and all that things when it comes to bread making. Now, all-purpose flours have a low content of gluten because they're normally used to make things that don't need a dough that stretches. And this is when it comes to pasta. When you make pasta, yes, you need some level of the dough to be a bit stretchy, especially when you're going through the machine and stretching it out, or you're doing by hand using a roller pin. You need some level of elasticity in the dough. However, you're not making bread, and you don't need that much gluten in the flour. So really, when you make pasta using white flour, you really want a flour that is low in gluten, and this is all-purpose flour. So in Italy, for example, in the north of Italy, white flour is the preferred choice to make pasta. Hence, you've got egg pasta, so you've got the white flour and then you add eggs, and this is kind of the preferred method in the north of Italy of making flour. So you want a light flour, and that it's what's going to make your pasta soft and light and fluffy. So never ever use strong bread flour or super strong bread flour. Find a flour, an all-purpose flour that is, again, super fine in meal, and that is the lightest possible. Here in the UK, I buy a flour from a well-known supermarket, and it's an organic all-purpose flour. And that's what every time I make pasta I use, and I find that it's a very, very, very light pasta, even lighter than just normal all-purpose flour. And the reaction that I get from people every time I make pasta is that it's light, that it's soft, that it's not heavy at all, and that's what you want when you make pasta. So if you use strong bread flour or super strong bread flour, you're gonna get a heavy pasta no matter what you do, because bear in mind that the dough, you're not making a dough that needs to prove. You're making a dough that it's a solid dough, and then you're boiling the pasta. So the pasta, the dough is absorbing water. So if you use a strong bread flour, imagine how heavy that it's going to be. So you want the lightest flour that you can, because you want a light dough, and when it boils, that it absorbs water, it's still light enough to eat and not be very heavy. And I use this organic all-purpose flour even for gnocchi making. That's the only time that I really like to use white flour. Otherwise, when I'm making pasta, if I don't have semolina, then I use a bread flour, but otherwise I prefer every time semolina super fine. And with that, you just need to add water and salt, and then you have your dough for pasta. And like I said, that's, for me, that's the lightest dough that you're gonna get. Of course, then if you don't have that, then like I said, choose your all-purpose flour. Try to find the finest, the lightest flour that you can find. I mean, of course, perhaps you're gonna have to try several one until you find the one that you like. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to make this video, just to point out why you shouldn't use strong bread flour to make pasta if you want to have a soft, light and fluffy pasta. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this video has given you some tips and some info on your pasta making. If you want to watch and if you want to see more videos like this one, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon if you want to get notified every time I post a video. And I'll see you next time with a video recipe. Probably it's going to be at the end of this week. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.